¿Listo, señor?
Let's do it, man.
Pues let's do it. Señor Johnny Kage, thank you so much for accepting my invite to chat today. By the way, I know how busy you are. And just like I was telling you before we got started, I wasn't expecting you to reply that same day within maybe a couple minutes or hours. Like, yeah, man, that sounds cool. Like, what? Like, I couldn't believe that. I'm very excited about today. Many reasons. Number one, hopefully you know you're an El Paso legend. When people think about El Paso, people think of three things. Number one, the star in the mountain. Mm-hmm. Number two, Chico's Tacos. And number three, Johnny Kage.
Oh, man.
That's for sure.
You're being nice now.
No, that's for sure. The other main reason why I'm so excited about today is that hopefully you know this, that you're one of the few people, at least that I know, but I'm sure that it is the same in our city or maybe even outside of the city that lives out of their passion. You have been able to make a living doing what you love. And I'm like, so many, like, who can say that, right? So that's what I'm so excited about today. Like I was telling you, like, I know that for the most part, people that follow you, that you know, they know how you grew up and know most of your career, right?
Yeah.
But when they really listen to some podcast episodes and more about you, like, oh, okay, I understand why in this case, why you said yes to me, because it makes sense. Like, just the way you are, such a humble person. But I want to get started as far as, like, how did that start? Like, I know your grandparents had a lot to do with that. But at the same time, like, I'm sure once you were getting success or maybe throughout your career, maybe it wasn't that way. So I really, I hope we can touch stuff like that. Pero, señor, thanks again.
Oh, thank you for having me.
No, pues sí. Well, let's get started. Let's get started with, I think, which is the most important question from today. And that is, what's the secret for you looking so young? Señor, you know you're El Paso's Maribel Guardia, right? You know that, right?
You know what's funny is I don't know how many times I've been accused of getting Botox. I've been accused of plastic surgery. And honestly, all I can say is I do credit it with somewhat genetics and somewhat luck, honestly. Because if you look at pictures of me when I was in my 20s, I was hideous. I mean, I look like, I was like, híjole, este vato se está acabando luego. And I did a kind of a lifestyle change I never used to go to the gym. So about going on 11 years or 12 years ago, I started going to the gym, eating a little bit more healthier, becoming more conscious of food, you know, and that really has been the secret to a lot of it, man. You know, staying away from a lot of don't get me wrong, I still love the tacos, I still love the tortillas and all the greasy food, but I do it in portion. And then there's certain things that I try to stay away from. My biggest battle has always been with candy and sweets, but yeah, there is no Botox. There's no injections.
Even if there was, like, is there a problem with that? Like,
I think it's genetics too. Honestly, I think that's what it comes down to.
Oh,
so yeah,
that's awesome. Do you sleep more than 12 hours a day? Is that maybe
right.
kind of like?
yeah, you're right. Honestly, doing the nightlife for so long, I mean, I've been so used to, you know, functioning on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, if that sometimes, you know, 'cause my brain's always wandering, even when I'm resting. I mean, I'm always thinking of things, and I'm one of those people that just doesn't know how to turn off the switch sometimes.
I as you're saying this, I wonder, like, I was telling you, I told my daughter today, today I'm going to record a podcast. It's going to be Johnny Kage. So cool. Like, you want to guess how old he is? And he's like, and she said, oh, I'm 20s, 27 at the most. And I'm like, okay. I didn't want to break her bubble, by the way, but that's so cool. You know?
Tell her I said thank you. I wish.
And I will. And by the way, once we get started talking about your mindset, I think that contributes a lot to that. You don't over worry about stuff. That, again, we'll definitely talk about haters and kind of like your approach on things. And again, my opinion is that, you know, that has to do a lot with that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pero bueno, let's get started. For maybe those people that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, por favor.
Well, I'm Johnny Kage, born and raised here in El Paso, Texas. Been a radio DJ going, over 20 years now, but been a DJ going on 30 years, basically. Lower Valley kid, always will be a Lower Valley kid. You know, graduated from Riverside High School, started my DJ career in Juarez, you know, like DJing at the clubs over there. That was a big thing for me. And then found my way onto radio. Little by little, I started doing what we called, they were called pirate radio stations in Juarez, which was 107.5 Vida. Basically, we begged the promoter, the program directors to, give us a chance to do a mix show. Me and one of my buddies, Danny Piseño, got a hold of it and said, hey, you know what, if you guys want to do mixes on the weekends, you guys can do it. So that's basically where it started, the whole radio gig, getting my feet wet with radio. So now, of course, I do mornings on 104.3. I've been with the company for, going on, 20 years, I believe it is now? I'm not even, my math is bad right now, but yeah, going on 20 years. So I'm a morning show radio host now. Been with the company, like I said, for that long. And also now one of my biggest accomplishments is being a resident DJ for SiriusXM for Channel 13, Pitbull's Globalization, which I'm actually going to have 4 years with them in April. So yeah, it's just a little bit about me, man. Just the business side, I guess you could say.
Nice, thank you so much. And
or the career side.
The career side, right? Now, I also started playing soccer when I was 7, right? Mm-hmm. So, and by age 12, I knew that I wasn't gonna be maybe 15 that I wasn't gonna be a professional soccer player.
Yeah.
When did you know you had something there? Because it's one thing to like it, to love it. But when did you realize, Sasuke, I have something here. I'm good at this. Do you remember that moment?
Well, I grew up in my dad's a musician to this day. My dad's, ya viejo non. He still has his Tejano band. He's still out there doing gigs. He's still out there playing on the weekends, and he's on the hustle. So music has always been part of our lives. My grandmother raised me, and my grandmother, she was the life of the party. Every weekend, waking up to the AM box on top of the refrigerator, and her making tortillas, and me listening to the music she was listening to. It was AM radio, so it was Carlos y Jose and Pedro Infante, and just just different styles of music, and her love for music, and she loved to dance, and she loved to drink, and se echaba sus pistos. She had her bottle of Presidente under the sink, and she'd be like, ay, mijo, nomás una, and rolling tortillas, and we'd be cracking up. And what's funny is my grandfather played tocaba la guitarra, but he didn't drink. He was her DD. He was the one that took care of her, la cuidaba. So we grew up in a very musically balanced family, I guess you could say.
And that's how you started. But do you remember when you're like, hey, I'm good at it? It's not that I'm doing it as a hobby, but there has to be a moment que digas tú, hey, validation from your friends, from somewhere. Que dices, I like what I do, but at the same time, I got something here. You
know what? I think it just comes with practice. I mean, just playing music. I always say, I'm getting up there in age. And I've had lately. I had one of my good friends. Actually, one of my best friends, Daniel Avalar, who's my lawyer as well. He asked me a while back. He's like, "How long do you see yourself, man? What do you think?" And I told him, I go, you know what, man? I go, I will know when you lose love for the passion. I mean, you never lose the love for the passion that you have. I still get excited when I hear new music. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to play this tomorrow. And that's the beauty of what I do. I can hear a song and love it so much. I'm like, I can't wait to play this on my mix tomorrow. It's just the excitement, that adrenaline that I still get, the excitement of knowing I get to wake up every day and do, what I love. But starting at a young age, honestly, I didn't know what I was onto. It was basically like, this is fun. I'm having fun. But I started to learn that music was slowly becoming my passion. I didn't learn that till a little bit later on. I never did this for girls. I never did this for hell. I didn't even know you can get paid doing this, until it started steamrolling. And I was like, hey, you know what? And, you got to put in the work before you start, really benefiting from this business. Now it's a little bit easier, but back in the day, that's how it was. You had to grind. And for me, it's always been the love of music. I always wanted to spread the love of music. I saw a void that was here in El Paso for a certain style of music that I wanted to push. Radio stations were always shutting the doors on this style of music, which is house and dance music. I was always like, I love this style of music, but it's not getting played here. And where was it most accepted? And it was in Mexico. It was in Juarez, man. Juarez, the nightlife over there was amazing back in the day. I'm not saying that it's not amazing now, but back in the the late 80s, the 90s, I mean, that was the premier place to be. So I can't really tell you. I knew it was right here when it was a learning process. I was like, hey, I'm getting pretty good. I love what I do. I like this. It's fun. But it was more the passion is what kept me going and growing, more importantly.
Aside from the passion for music, what is also maybe a way to kind of escape? I know you had a difficult upbringing. I don't know if at that age you knew that maybe, you know what, I am having a difficult time, or it was just life at that moment, right?
Yeah.
I know I saw a post that that you posted. I can't remember when, but about the, like, maybe I'm thinking the house that you grew up
grandma's house.
and like I'm like, wait, that's grandma's house, though, yo. Like,
Yeah.
but I wonder if maybe that was also an escape for maybe your tough upbringing. Was it, or was it more the passion, or was it everything combined?
You know what? It was a little bit of her teaching me, because here's this old lady raising me, and basically raising me because my parents couldn't get their stuff together, which I understand. You know, I understand they were young. I understand we all make mistakes, and she took it upon herself to tell me, do better for yourself. It's, you know, nothing in life is given. I didn't realize, you know, I had such a beautiful childhood with her, because she showed me that there is a way out if you work hard. You know, I'm glad I was raised the way I was, because it made me really appreciate everything that I have today. I don't think I'd be where I would be if I didn't go through what I had gone through. If I didn't see, you know, Christmases with no presents, like I've talked about many times, and I'm not ashamed. I'm actually proud of it. You know, sometimes, you know, I never knew we were poor. Yeah. You know, or you know, some people say, well, you really aren't poor because you had food. I understand there's different levels of poverty. There really is. Yeah. You know, we barely had enough to make it. You know, there was days that I didn't know why, when I got home from school, I was eating tomato soup for lunch. You know, that's all she had. I didn't know sometimes we didn't eat meat because there was no meat. It was just, you know, puro frijoles, tortilla y arroz. But I was happy because I was fed. I had a full stomach. You know, I had a roof over my head. And back then, life wasn't so focused on materialistic things. It was the simplicity and the love that you got. And as long as I had that from her and from my grandfather, I had everything, man. I was the richest kid. You know, I didn't see that till later on in life, when I was like, damn, like I didn't, like it hit me as I got older, you know, as I started realizing, like, yo, I kind of, you know, we kind of had it rough. I didn't have my first good pair of tennis shoes. Like, I didn't have a pair of Nikes till I was a freshman. I wore whatever Mervin's had on special, you know, whatever Payless had on special, whatever Bonanza on Alameda had on special. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that just made me realize, you know what, you're gonna have to work, man. You're gonna have to do better for yourself.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Now, what I'm very interested in knowing, because I mean, I'm sure you, and we'll definitely talk about the perspective, the unique perspective that you have, because you interact with so many people, different types of people here. But you, like, my take is that, like, if you were raised a certain way, in this case with the lack of resources, or maybe not as, I don't know how to call it, but maybe the way you were raised. But there's two types of approach that people take. Either one, the approach that you took, which was, espérame, no quiero esto, I need to work hard. Your grandparents, of course, played a big role in that. But then there's the other side of maybe kids or adults that was, I'm this way because that's it. That's it. That's
as good as life gets.
And I wonder, where is it? And I don't know the answer to this, but there had to be a place that I now realize that maybe, sabes que, that upbringing is not the best. Either I go right or I go left. Like, I can choose the same path because that's my excuse. That's all I know. Or in this case, no, espérame, no me gustó, so I'm going to take this better approach. It's harder, but I'm going to take it, right? And based on what you're sharing a little bit about your grandparents, the great thing about it is that you had people that had such a great perspective.
Absolutely. And I really do agree with that, what you're saying, because in life, you either eat or you're eaten, if that makes sense. Yeah. You know, and it took a while for me to realize it, because I think everyone in their life at some point gets complacent. Okay, this is as good as it's going to get. And then you start realizing, well, this is it. You know, this is it. I'm not growing. Why am I not growing? You become complacent. You start, you know, your self-esteem starts going down for whatever reason. And I'm not saying money is everything. No, it's not. But guess what? You know, your hard work is going to get you where you're only as good as your hard work is going to get you. You know, I always wanted more. I always wanted, like, man, what else is out there? I'm seeing all these other people do this. Why not me? You know, why is it because, and what lit a fire under my butt even more is being that I was Hispanic, being that the odds were against me, being that they're always going to see me like, este vato, you know, in the Lower Valley, he's not going to amount to anything. That's the I guess that's the stereotype a lot of us had in El Paso and Chuco growing up. Like, you can't do anything. You can't make anything out of yourself. And I always wanted to, beat those statistics. I've always wanted to be the one. I've always wanted to be the underdog and prove people wrong. I mean, I think that's what's motivated me. And still to this day, I just, whenever people doubt me, I just smile. I just brush them off my shoulder and I smile, because I know that I'm going to do what I need to do and get to where I need to go.
We're going to talk about kill 'em with silence. You say that a lot.
Absolutely.
And I think it's basically the same thing. I don't know if maybe you saw one of the clips on about the envidia. And I think I'm like, I think that's the same approach, but he's like
wording it different.
And wording it much better than the way I worded, right? But I want to go a little bit back to your grandparents, right? Because I have said, and I see this, I told you that I have custody of my daughter.
Yeah.
I have, like, she comes home and shares stories about her friends or stories about parents, right? And I'm like, you know what? And I have realized that the biggest lottery that we can win as a human, it's who are parents, or in this case, who were raised by, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, you were lucky for sure. Maybe I was lucky as well, by the way. As far as maybe we didn't have a lot of material stuff, but you had the right people to teach you that, hey, this is how you need to go in order for you to be successful. And not only money-wise, but also like mentality-wise,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. No, you have to. And it's unfortunate. I understand there's some people that don't have that. I have a lot of friends that don't have that. They didn't have that. And guess what? A lot of them, it was 50-50.
Yeah.
It was either they made something of their life and said, I'm not going to live like this. I'm going to better myself. And then there's some that fell into the system. And I have friends that died. I have friends that are in prison. I have friends that, got put away because they made bad decisions in their life. It's a roll of dice. I mean, we're at the end of the day, we're all accountable for our own actions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if sometimes I get, but what do you tell someone that doesn't? I mean, you have to figure life out on your own sometimes. Not everyone is going to hold your hand sometimes, I'll never forget what my grandma told me, and this stuck in my head and engraved in my soul. She said, my job when I die is to know that you're going to be okay.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I was just like, damn, like, that was my biggest fear in life. It was always my biggest fear in life was losing my grandma, because she was my rock. Just like everyone that is blessed to have a mother figure in their life, whether it be a mom, an aunt, a tia, a grandma, it was my biggest fear. And she used to scare me like that as a kid. She'd be like, you're not going to behave? Okay, well, cuando Dios he's going to come for me tonight. And I'd be like, no, okay, no. I was más asustón. I was always worried about that. But I'll never forget when she told me that. She's like, when I leave this world, I want to know that at least I know that I raised you, and that you're going to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, and you're going to be something big. She's like, whatever you touch will always turn to gold, because I taught you like that. And that's been burned in here, man. That's why I'm like, stack all the odds you want against me. Talk all the shit you want to talk about me. I don't care. I'm still going to come at it. I'm still going to get mine. I'm still going to find a way to break barriers.
And even your parenting style, like I said, I heard several podcasts.
Yeah.
And you didn't talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
But you can tell, because when people like were raised just like you and myself, that like with not a lot of stuff, right? Yeah. Like there's two approaches that even as a parent that you take. You want to give everything to your parents because of the things that you lack of, or you kind of like that approach of, you know what?
Yeah.
This was maybe not ideal, but it helped me. And I want you to also, maybe I can afford to buy you that brand new car, but I'm not. And there's a reason why, right? And hopefully you understand, because I also see the opposite, right? Maybe someone growing up poor, pero ya ahorita los niños chiples, todo lo que quieran. I'm like, I get it, because when you start conversations, no quiero que les falte nada que a mí me faltó. Like, I get it, and it's my opinion, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Espérame, there is also another approach, because if you are happy, content with who you are right now, then that means that there is something positive about that experience, right?
Yeah.
So how are they getting that? Because it's not enough, in my opinion, for you just to tell them, oye, pero te estoy dando estos Jordans for $200, but I want you to know que me costaron a lot of work. It is not enough for just to say it, because kids will say, oh no, thank you so much for my Jordans, or whatever it is. And they'll, okay, but did they really realize that you're like really serious? You know what I mean? And that's why
tough.
When you're talking about it, like, okay, that's how you were growing up, but now you also have chosen as a parent también de que, espérame, this is something that helped me, and I want to help you as well.
Yeah, it's true. And especially for now in the age that we live in, a lot of people co-parent.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It really is, because, you want to give your kids everything, but at the same time, you also want to teach them the value of hard work. I really believe in that because not everything in life is given. I always tell my son when I talk to him, I'm always like, you know what, man? I was like, what makes you stand out? Do you think you're going to come get a scholarship because some university is going to go, hey, I'm going to look for that kid that's in El Paso. I don't know his name, but, he's what's going to make you stand out? No, you got to make yourself stand out. You got to work. You got to, anything I've always been a part of, I've always been like, you know what? I want to stand out. I want to show that I'm the best. I want to, I have that mentality that I have the tiger mentality of like, and I try to tell him, stand out. Don't be like the rest, man. There's a million sheep out there. Be the lion. That's one thing I've always tried and be a leader. Don't be a follower. And that comes from my grandma. Always tell me, there's a million sheeps. Pero los lions, there's a few.
That sounds so exciting.
Pero esos son los meros.
Yeah. I mean, don't be average, por
favor.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And not because there's nothing wrong. Like, the word average is not negative, by the way.
No,
just
it's not.
Don't be average because why? Because I know you have more.
Yeah.
That's it.
You don't know your true potential.
That's it.
Exactly.
Señor, again, we'll go back to parenting because I have so many questions. But closing into kind of like your grandparents, and you maybe already talked about it, but looking back, what's the biggest lesson? Te digo, there's so many, of course, pero que dices tú, you know what? This is something that and again, might be that what you share already, but this is something that, again, biggest lesson from them.
Honestly, with my grandparents, I think about them every day. It's funny. My grandma taught me about God. She taught me about, faith. She taught me about life. I think about this constantly, especially maybe because I'm getting older. I mean, she told me one day when you're older, you'll realize what I'm telling you. And sometimes it hits me like a ton of bricks. And I'm just like, damn, but I think the one thing that she always told me is like, you know what? Just always be happy. Let things go. Don't hold grudges. Life is short. Live it to the fullest. Do things that scare you. Even though this is the same lady that told me, don't join the army. Don't be the cop. Don't be a firefighter. Do something safe because era miedosa.
Yeah.
But I understood. She loved me so much that she didn't want me to get hurt. She saw this as the old-fashioned way. Like, no, estos, they live a risky lifestyle. Because there was a point where I wanted to be a cop. I really did, man. I was a point where I really wanted to be. And she's like, no, mijo. And that's because we had a cousin in the family that unfortunately lost his life in the line of duty. And she's like, no, mijo, vas a, and I was, I'd always be like, oh, pobrecita, and she's like, me quieres matar. She'd always be like, you want me to die right away? And I was like, oh God. So I always felt that guilt. But honestly, the one thing that she really, really taught me, and I think I still carry it to this day, is just be compassionate towards people that love you. Love those that love you, and don't worry about those that don't, because honestly, the ones that count are the ones that are in your life at that moment. And that's what I'll always carry on.
That's awesome, Señor. I will die to have a conversation with an older person like that, because if I'm sure she wasn't raised like she raised you, right?
Dude, she was so poor. If I told you how my grandmother was raised, she was raised on Dale Road off of North Loop. They used to walk from, if you guys in El Paso know, it's basically from Ascarate to Isleta High School. They used to walk it every morning to go to school. They had 12 brothers and sisters. She has one brother that was lost in the Korean War, missing in action. Dirt poor. My grandfather was even more dirt poor because he lost his dad when he was 9 and he was working at 9 years old. So that's where I learned hard work and hustle. But yeah, I mean, just her story is what inspired me, because I wanted to break the chain. I wanted to break the cycle. I wanted to be something. I wanted to be like, I wanted one. Obviously, Kage isn't my last name. It's my stage name, which I've never talked about this on a podcast, but my grandfather was so hurt when I told him my DJ name. He was so pissed.
¿Qué te dijo?
He was pissed. He was pissed. He was like, ¿Qué clase de nombre es? My grandpa's very old-fashioned. He's like, tú no eres gringo, te pareces gringo, pero tú no eres gringo. And he gave me a lecture on how to be proud of my culture, how to be proud of my last name. And I had to explain to him. And the way I say this, and I told him, I was like, Grandpa, I understand, but you understand I'm a minority and I'm in a Gabacho game. So I need a Gabacho name to sneak in with the Gabachos and show our people the way.
How old were you when
that happened?
Yeah, when that happened. When you had that conversation with him.
I must have been about 17 or 18.
Wow. Okay.
Going on 18. Yeah. And he understood, because he's like, los vas a hacer mensos.
Yeah.
You know, but it was tough because my grandpa was very old fashioned, very Mexicano, like very raza primero. Like he was very, that's how he was raised, and he was just like, hágase hombre, you know, he was fuerte. My grandfather was, I saw him kill a mouse in the house with his fist. Like literally he trapped it in the corner and he just smushed it, and I was just like, yeah. I mean, he would literally, we grew up in the valley with mice, man, and he would kill them. We'd get them in las trampas, and he would throw them at me and my brother. And you know, he would just, it was, the stuff he would do was crazy. But I mean, it was just stuff like that, you know, it's engraved in my soul, man. It really is. That's why, you know, sometimes when I catch myself doing stuff, I'm like, oh my God, Gilberto Vasquez, and it's my grandfather's name, and I laugh because I resemble a lot of things that he did, you know, at times, and I'm just like, man, if I could only be half the man that man was, I'd be happy.
Senor, that's awesome. Not only because you were able to take advantage of everything that you learned to this date, but you can tell right away from listening to, like, from people that know you, right, at a personal level, but even from the radio, right? Prior to this, we didn't know each other, right? But I can tell through the radio, like, this is a cool guy that has his shit together, right?
Oh, thank you.
And now there's a story behind that as far as why, but at the same time, you're also trying to spread that, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's very powerful because, again, those are things that maybe you were raised, we don't have control over that, but what you have control and you have chosen to do, so it's okay, I'm trying to help other people and as much as possible, and it is evident. And when you sell out your concerts y todo eso, like, it's I'm sure it's because of your talent, I'm sure it's because but a lot of people, they just want you to be successful because of you as a person. Y te digo, you showing up, you answering you have no idea how many people don't even reply, que me enojo tanto because I'm like, at least just say no to me. It's okay, pero yo tengo respeto to decir, hey, no, I don't have time, thank you. But like in your case, like, and I asked you, right, I was listening to several podcasts and you do a lot, and I know you're so busy. Why you do this? You know, like, ya me explicaste and everything. Like, yeah, everything makes sense as far as who you are, what you do, as humble as you are, and if you want to give back in any type, any shape, like, that's what you're doing, bro.
No, and honestly, when you wrote to me, it's like I say, hey, you know, sometimes my time is scarce, you know, especially with work, side projects that I have, and I've been so busy lately. It's crazy. It's like nonstop. But if I can help people along the way when I have time, absolutely, you know, and I'll try to open doors. I've done it all my DJ life. All the radio shows I've been on, I've opened doors for guest spots for other DJs that were up and coming. Even on 104, you know, I started a show called Nocturnal Transmission when we first started the radio station, from 2 o'clock to 4 in the morning, which is still running, where we'd open the door for guest DJs to come and do mixes and showcase their talents. And hey, I'm going to be on the radio because I know how exciting it is to be on the radio, you know. Even for podcasts, man, like yourself, like, hey, man, if this can open more doors for you and broaden your audience, why not, man? If I eat, we all eat, man. That's the way that's the problem with a lot of us Mexicans, man. That's the problem with a lot of us, our razas, that, and I'm sorry for saying this, but the envidia is our death, man. You can never see someone going up, no, primero yo, güey, no, que ya te crees. No, how come, like, hey, man, déjame ayudarte, let me help you, let me get you up here, you know. And I've learned that because I've seen club owners que son bien mamones, you know, mexicanos raza, they're like, no, tú no, bro, you know, no te voy a pagar eso porque, oh, but you want me to make you money, you know. And it's where you got to get business savvy as DJs and as musicians and say, well, without me there is no you, just like without you there is no me. So we gotta find a middle ground somewhere, you know. But I'm always down to help people, always down to help businesses. You know, love those that love you. Like I always say, I think envidia is the death of, you know, can be the death of anything, not just our race, but just, you know, I know so many people that are like, oh, well, you're up there. Well, no, I'm not going to help you, bro. Like, no, let me shine. Let me do. Yeah, yo no más el chingón. Nah, dude. Like, if I'm up here, like, let's all come up. You know, that's how that's my mentality. Is like, why not open the gates for everybody and say, hey, we all eat. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the way it should be. But unfortunately, you got those that are envidiosos and celosos.
¿Por qué pasa eso? Let's get into that. Why do you think people grow up like that?
I think because they weren't taught properly, man. Either that or they were given everything too soon. You know, they don't know the value of hard work. They never fell on their ass and were able to get up and say, you know what? Damn, I failed. I failed a million times, man. You guys, you know, you guys see you've seen the sellout concerts of the drive-ins, or me opening for this, or me doing, certain events, but you don't see the blood, sweat, and tears where I've failed, man. Where I've had events where in the past when I was coming up where no one showed up, or I was told I was a crappy DJ, or ya te creas, or you got to learn you got to have thick skin. You got to grow up and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this again. There's people that are just, I don't know, man, they just weren't taught well, and you can't blame them. Just can say, hey, God bless you and good luck.
I do, and I agree 100% with you. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. To be honest with you, maybe we didn't talk about this, but my goal with this is not to be a YouTuber, to be famous. La verdad, no. My goal number one is to network, but I also want to, because I think that once you find yourself successful, not money-wise, but in a way that says, okay, I'm happy, content with where I am right now, right? And that's kind of like everybody defines success a different way, but I define it that way. Says, okay, I'm happy, no me falta nada, my life is great. And I think that the next step is kind of like give back, right? Like the next step, it feels really good for someone to be like, hey, thank you, right? And my take on this, going a little bit back to that, is like for people that hear that perspective. Because the truth is that, yes, I can talk bad about that hater or that esa persona que it's... Yeah. But then if you look at, okay, déjame ver quién son sus papás. Okay, I can kind of tell. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Exactly, and they never will offer a different perspective. So I know that as an adult, of course, there is a time that you go left and right. I understand that maybe you don't have the best upbringing, the best parents. Pero a la misma vez, at 20, 25...
You start learning.
Ya dijiste esto, okay. Like, I understand. Like, I get it. This is kind of like my excuse, but there's also a different path. And I think that most people... it's very convenient to choose this path, and kind of like we already talked about it, that's my excuse, right? So one of my goals is to offer that one person that maybe is like, I want to hear that perspective. That's why I told you my take on this is not really going into your career a lot, because there's a lot out there. I think that a lot of people, and I know my daughter will benefit from listening to your perspective on things.
Yeah, there's so much, and it comes with maturity. It really does, because I messed up a lot as being young. I said a lot of dumb things on radio that I'm just like, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have said that. And maybe I shouldn't have put that tweet out, or maybe I shouldn't put that. And I think about it now, because I think about whose life I could be impacting negatively. And that's the last thing I want to be. There's so much negativity in the world and not enough positive lights. And it's translated into the music I play, into the lifestyle that I try to, live my best life. First and foremost, God. I mean, with me, that has been the answer to everything. And I'm not trying to get religious on anyone by all means, but honestly, when no one else was there for me, he was the only one there for me. Like, I found him, and that's what changed my life, and it changed my perspective. And life is a beautiful thing when life is beautiful when you refocus your eyes and you really realize, man, I can do so much more being positive instead of being negative. Because anyone can get on Instagram. You see it all the time. Yeah. You see it on Instagram, hate. It's easy to fall into that trap. I can put up a negative post and get 1 million likes. Oh, yeah, let's bash this and put up, hey, man, God is good. Get a couple of, maybe 100 likes, 200 likes. Why are we like that? Why not say, hey, you know what, I gotta, why not give 1 million likes to that person that says, hey, I got a raise, or I'm graduating college, or hey, you know what, I'm a single mom and I graduated college, or I'm doing my best. Hey, props to you, instead of like, I'm bichona this, or whatever, bichota, whatever this, whatever, and hating on someone. Is just like, dude, like, enough, man. I mean, we have to break that cycle someday.
Señor, we share the same things, and I can say this because I have a lot of friends que you can tell. Fíjate que I haven't seen it recently. I don't know if Facebook changed something, but we'll go into like famous people's account or just other accounts, bro, to troll whatever they're doing. Yo me quedo. First of all, I don't have the time, right? And second, like, I understand, because the excuse that I have seen is, it's just Facebook. It's just Facebook. I'm just having fun. Bro, first of all, if you have time, yes, una cosa. And number two, like, bro, you can also use it in a positive way, instead of like you having fun or you spending your time just like seeing what other people like reply to you. Like, y la verdad me da tristeza, because I'm like, you know what? And I try to show empathy as much as possible. Because when I look at their life, la verdad, okay, Like I can see why, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I was curious. But I was like, when I was prepping for, like, I wonder if I should ask this or maybe not, because there's some questions I know they're personal, but at the same time, I don't know if we want to go there or not. But outgrowing your friends, I have a lot of mutual Facebook friends, several, by the way. And I'm like, you have like the I don't know, 10,000. What's the limit? 5,000 still for Facebook. But I'm sure you still interact with a lot of people that you grew up with. And again, it's one thing about the memes and one thing about some of the stuff, but you can tell based on their post or based on their post on where they are in their life. And I'm not saying only showcase the good. No, I'm not saying that.
Yep.
But if you're constantly like hating on life, hating on the city of El Paso, hating on the city councils, hating on how much the Tommy Gonzalez makes, like, I understand it's one thing for your opinion, pero ya cuando te la pasas like, bro, like,
you're infatuated
stop,
with it.
like, so I'm like, I wanna ask you in this case, Johnny, like, outgrowing friends, like, how difficult was it? And when I mean outgrowing, of course, not only your success in your career, but your mindset, because you can tell you're at a different level. And what I mean, and I want to ask you as well, when did you know that you have your priorities straight? Pero how was the process, or is it still something that you're working on outgrowing your friends in the mentality what we're talking about?
Well, I heard this, and I know it's been said a couple of times. I mean, you are the reflection of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. I agree to a certain extent, because you can, but if you don't share the same views, I mean, obviously we all have opinions. I've rubbed elbows with, and I'm not afraid to say this, I know people that are both straight, and I know people that are both do illegal things. To each their own. I'm just like, hey, you know what, that's on you. I'm not, I'm gonna love everyone the same. I'm my own person. I always say when it comes to friends' mentalities and the way they think and about certain, situations, and I'm like, cool, one perfect example, this last administration when Trump was in office. I mean, man, that divided so many people for whatever reason. A lot of people saw him as a racist, as this, as that. Me, I said, you know what, I loved all my friends the same. Even if you support Trump, I'm still going to love you the same, because I'm my own individual, man. I have my own mind. I have my own mindset. I have my own intelligence that I know at the end of the day, if you're toxic, I'm still going to love you, but I'm going to keep you at arm's length, which means I'm not going to let you get too close. I'm just going to say, hey, you're good, but I'm not going to be like, oh, I hate you and this and that. No, what good is that? It's tough because, as you grow, you kind of realize what friends really mean. You really realize who's going to be there for you. You really realize, who is there for the grow and who is there for the show. And you kind of separate them, and there's nothing wrong with being there for the show. And hey, I just want to be here. You have your party friends, and you have your friends that are friends, and then you have your friends that are family, because I really do believe that in some cases, I think there are friends that are closer than family in situations. But as far as outgrowing your friends, I mean, honestly, you can't say you outgrow your friends. Like he says, I make up my own mind. I'm my own person. I believe in one thing. Quit putting emphasis on other people. Just worry about what you can handle. If someone is doing something wrong that you don't agree with, I mean, it's monkey see, monkey do. I don't follow into that. Like, it's like everyone's on this, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do that. That's not me. It's like, it's like saying, hey, I'm going to go dance country western and dress cowboy now. And because this is the cool, no, that's just not me. It's not me. It's just, I'm not going to do that. Hey, you know what? Let's get on this Facebook post and let's hate on this person because this and this. And no, it's just, but it comes with maturity. It comes with learning. Yeah. It really does, man. Yeah. Because at one point, I'll admit it, I was like that too. At one point I was just like, and then I sat there, I'm like, why am I like this? This is getting me nowhere in life. And
I'm sure you were not content at that point of your life.
No. And it doesn't even have anything to do with content. Yes and no. Because at some point you're just like, you're young, you're stupid. Mm-hmm. No other way to put it. And you made bad decisions. You're just like, damn, I made a bad decision. It's like that bad decision you drank, the night before, and you have a bad hangover now. But you learn from that. You learn, hey, man, next time that comes around, I'll try my best to be better or to approach it better, because you never know someone's situation. Mm-hmm. You never know why someone is acting the way they are. Mm-hmm. And I've really learned that you got to take people's feelings into consideration, even though they might not take yours. Because you got to have some sort of strong spinal court, I guess, man, you could say, just to stand there and take a lot of stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can only be accountable for your own actions. I mean, so when you ask about friends and not growing, I mean, I have different friends on different levels.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, like, I have friends that, that I consider like I would trust with my life. And I have friends that, hey, cool, I love you, but hasta aquí dio. Right here at our arm's length, because I know the type of person you can be, and I don't agree with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's my take on it.
No, that's
that
awesome.
makes sense.
No, senor, that makes perfect sense, and of course you're able to articulate it much better than I can. But again, and this is something that even like judging people for, and I wanted to ask you this because you're of course in music, but I'm sure you see this all the time. Mm-hmm. Like when people post stuff about like judging others or criticizing others for their taste in music, like in banda, nacos, oh, no fue a la escuela, and I see that, and I graduated college, I like banda, and also like the Bad Bunny tickets. Oh, you're gonna pay $200, $300, $500, $700 for listening to crap, and I'm like, you know what? In my opinion, that's kind of like being the same as being homophobic, meaning like judging someone for their taste. Like, bro, that's ignorance. Bottom line, that's ignorance. You just can't. Y luego ya te digo, I try to, my process, like, step back. ¿Sabes qué? Like, if you're judging someone, I really don't care, but the truth is that you're not happy. La verdad, like, there's no way that I have time for a post. Number two, even if I'm trying to be funny, no, pero ¿sabes qué? Kudos to this guy que le gusta la banda, los corridos, narcocorridos, whatever. But then I see them like, oh, I wish I could, like, be a bigger voice there. But again, am I really? No, pues porque, like, at the same time, I go back, ¿qué vas a ganar aquí? Like, are you really, if you're gonna, hey, do this? But I see this all the time about nacos or crap. I'm like, you know what I have to ask Johnny? Hopefully put it on the clip. What's your take on people that judge others for music?
You know what? That comes also with, believe it or not, comes with a level of maturity. Because there's stereotypes in everything. If you listen to this, you're this. If you listen to this, you're this type. If you listen to this, you're this type. And honestly, I came up in the house and dance music genre. I've been pushing it since I was a kid. That's stuff I loved. And here in El Paso, it was obsolete, and there was nothing of it. So when I would play it here, I would play it at, try to get into the clubs and do it. I got called gay. I got called basically all the homophobic slurs you could possibly call someone. I had bottles thrown at me. I had fingers thrown at me. I had this is the most annoying thing you can do, change the music, and the cutthroat sign. Tons of people that were just, they were just hating on it. But what's crazy is the group of people that would go just to hear me play this was what I was there for, because I was like, there was a place that I played at. And it was, I'd get a 25-minute set when I started. I was a kid.
Is this in Juarez or
25? No, it was here.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 25 minutes, and it was a hip-hop club. But for 25 minutes, they let me come on and play what I wanted. So it was all hip-hop, basically, and, the stuff that was in the 90s. So for those 25 minutes I got on, I changed the music, and I played dance, and, oh, man, it was bad. It was bad. I got hated on a lot. That's why I tell you, they would flip me off and call me all sorts of names, but that group of people that would go, they go and dance and have fun, and that was it, man. And it comes with the territory of music. Music should unite us all. Unfortunately, is there music that sends wrong messages? Absolutely, man. Yeah. And that's where I've drawn the line. Especially that's why there's a lot of genres of music that I don't touch, because of the fact that I have a soon-to-be 18-year-old son, and I don't want him listening to lyrics that might be portrayed differently. And I don't know how someone that's young might listen to something and take it and be like, yeah, that's me, and yeah, I have to do this. And you never know what you're influencing. So that's even changed the way I DJ on the radio. I mean, you'll basically never hear me play any of that stuff because of the fact that it's just goes against my belief system and the way I think we should be, helping our youth out. But people that judge music, honestly, it comes with maturity, because at one point or another, I think we're all guilty of it, including myself. We're like, that's the way. Oh yeah, if you listen to this, eres un cholo. You're a gangster if you listen to this. Oh, eres un narco if you listen to this. Eres un fresa. We all have it, and yeah, it's all funny and jokes, and but when you cross the line and you start becoming obscene and vulgar with it, and that's a different story.
You can kind of tell when you're being serious or just a funny, or like viene un amigo que hey, or like that's it, but like I wouldn't make it a point as far as hey, all you people are trash because you like reggaeton or judging someone for $800, bro. If that's how they find happiness, bro, just let them. It's not a Facebook post. It's not, in my opinion.
I got a lot of it's funny because when Bad Bunny came, for example, I mean, we were giving out tickets and people were hating left and right, this and that. But I'm like, the guy sold out concerts, and whatever you want to think of him, whatever you want to think of his music, whatever. I'm a very big people person. Yeah. And when I saw him take a stand for a transgender person that got killed in Puerto Rico. And he basically wore a T-shirt. Was it on one of the talk shows? And I said, I like that guy. His music, I don't think it's bad. I actually like it. And I'm not one to judge his music. I'm like, hey, you know what? It's cool. It's got a catchy beat. I get it. But when I saw someone use their platform to stand up for someone else, that's amazing to me. And that wins me over all the time. I'm just like, I don't care what genre of music. I'm like, he knows. He knows the power he has in his hands. And he knows that he can make a difference by doing that. And that's what makes me love an artist and appreciate an artist.
You have to appreciate the fact that regardless if you like him or not, but he writes a song. Yeah. And there's millions that feel a certain way because of those songs. So you just can't ignore it and you can't judge that because you don't like it. You can say, hey, es que no me gusta, whatever. But as far as like, oh, it's crap, it's trash. But
what energy are you gonna get sitting there hating on it? Like Bad Bunny's gonna read your comment and be like, "Hijo, like, ya me agüité. I'm gonna quit."
No, but there is other people that are in the like maybe checking Facebook and they're in the fence of, do I feel this way or not? Yeah. And then I see the majority of people hating on it and talking shit. It's easier for me to but let me get into the bandwagon of talking shit. Yep. And that's why, regardless if we have a big following or not. ¿Sabes qué? Pues be wise about it,
it's true, man. Honestly, like I have friends that get mad at me because I'll play banda stuff, and I'm like, I like all music. There is, like I said, some music I don't agree with, and the reason, and I want to be very clear about this, has nothing against hip hop music because everyone's like, oh, you're always picking on. No, it's not that. It's just that there are some of the younger hip hop lyrics that I don't agree with, where it is encouraging pill popping and it is encouraging suicide and different things that might. You don't know how someone that is sensitive or not might be as stable in their life is taking that and listening, saying, I'm going to kill myself because my favorite artist told me, life ain't worth living. Or, I'm going to overdose. No, I don't want that. I don't want no one to get hurt. Music shouldn't be about that. Music should unite us and make you happy and say, it should escape the problems. That's always been my take on music. It's my job when I see when people go hear me, I want them to forget about the BS that they're dealing with all week. I want you to forget about the job that you might not like, or the drama you might be having in your relationship, and just for those few hours just have fun, dance, and enjoy life, and remember the good things that things are gonna get better, But I mean there is some stuff that I stay away from because unfortunately for whatever reason those artists, maybe it's something that they went through that they believe in. I just don't want my child to be listening to it, even though there's a pretty good chance that they are listening to it. But as a parent, it's my responsibility to teach them, look, a lot of this stuff is for entertainment. You're coming from a good home. Don't fall into this trap. Yeah. Because unfortunately, when I was a kid, I was listening to NWA and listening to this. And, I want to be hood and this and that. But I'm like, wait a minute, me pega mi grandma. No. At the same time, you got to understand this is what that artist went through. And yes, it might be what they went through. And part of it could be like, I'm just trying to sell records. So that's how, you got to really take in when you listen to certain music.
And you fully understand the impact, because a lot of people, the argument can be just a song, right? I mean, and I've been with parties that play very graphic songs into their 7, 8, 9-year-old. You think it's like my opinion, it sounds like yours as well. Like, but I mean, you might think it's not, but it is impacting them. Like watching videos or like their music videos también. There's so many things.
I have friends and people that are close to me that work in the mental health industry. Well, not industry. Obviously for
psychologists. You mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that therapists and whatnot. That I get a lot. A lot of people. A lot of my resources are people that will write to me that I know that hit me up on the show. They're like, hey man, thank you for talking about that, because we have so much, problems with our youth, so many little kids. And I didn't believe
Yeah.
it till, you start hearing about it from these therapists and these people that work in the mental health industry saying, you know what, there's a lot of kids out there that, they're bouncing from home to home because they're so messed up because they didn't have the proper upbringing, or they were taught differently, or they were taught about, there's little 5-year-olds throwing F-bombs and knowing about, sex and things that they shouldn't be knowing about. They were robbed of their childhood. Mm-hmm. And that affects me a lot, man, because at one point or another, they were robbed of their innocence, and it sucks because I think about that. Where's that child going to be, in 10 years? Where's this child's life going if he doesn't have that proper guidance, if he's not showing love and showing, that someone cares for him and gives a shit about him? He's already off to a bad start, and he's 5. He's already in a mental unit or ward or something, having mental issues or talking about suicide. Where did he learn that from? It's just like, it's you have to learn it from home, or you learned it from someone, and unfortunately someone didn't protect that child from that, and it sucks, man. And if I can be that positive voice saying, you know what, it doesn't have to be like that, it doesn't have to be like that, and I use my microphone to be positive as best as I can. I think we've failed a lot as a society. Yo creo mucho en Dios, and I think the biggest part we failed is taking God out of so many things. Whatever your belief, and I always tell people, whatever you believe in, I'm not telling you what type of God or what, you just believe in something, whatever it is, but make sure it's good, make sure it's positive, make sure it's making you a better person, not making you an angry person, not making you a hateful person. That's the best you can do for people. I'm not gonna hold your hand and say, oh, todos los católicos, no, todos los Christians, no, todo esto. No, you find what you believe in and go with it. Just make sure it makes you a better person. If you're being negative and hateful, then obviously you're on the wrong foot.
Yeah. Senor, since when do you have, looking a little bit back, I know it's a work in progress, and I'm sure that there's still a lot of things that maybe you're still working through, but it sounds, by the way, when next time someone asks you, how come you look so young? It is your mindset, señor. De que no te preocupes, que no, like, it is that, for my opinion. Pero te voy a decir, like, the truth is that once you start into this path of kind of like trying to help and trying to understand, like, it's evident that you have your priorities straight, right? So do you remember how old were you, if there was many events that, like, ¿sabes qué? I now have my priorities straight? Because it sounds to me, again, from everything that we have talked about so far, aside from your upbringing, but I think you have your priorities straight. This is what makes me happy. This is what I care about. And this is the line I'm going to follow. Do you remember since when?
No, honestly, and I think that's life in general. I mean, are people ever going to have all the priorities straight? Absolutely not. I think life, you're always going to learn in life as old as you grow. I mean, that's one thing my grandma always told me, you always learn. No matter, even I remember her telling me in her old age, she was like, you know what, mijo, I'm still learning stuff in my older age as an older woman. I'm still learning exactly what I need to do and how I need to get better. So always be open to learning. When it comes to, your priorities, obviously it's always a work in progress. Sometimes you fail a million times and say, man, I'm not going to do that again, but you end up doing it again. Or you're like, damn, I got to get this before I do this. I mean, honestly, I can't pinpoint it to a time because life has been a lesson. Life is a lesson every day. I'll learn something tomorrow and I'll translate into, okay, how can I make this better? When the young Johnny would be like, brush it off. I'll do it tomorrow. Brush it up, procrastinate. But as you grow older and you mature, you kind of realize life's short, man. Life is short. I mean, tomorrow I might not be able to wake up, or I might, they might call me home and I won't have to, I won't have a chance to fulfill what I wanted to fulfill in my life. So I think why put off what you can do today, what you're planning to do tomorrow. It's weird. I have an interesting take on life right now. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and thinking about, man, I like helping people. I love helping people. I love talking to people. And it's interesting when you get to a certain point in your life and you really realize, I don't want to say you figure out life, but you realize how much better life can be if you are a certain way and you say, okay, this is how I'm going to be. You know, I understand bad things are going to happen. I understand good things are going to happen. I just got to learn how to roll with the punches. And I think that's the secret to life, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, taking everything in balance. You know, knowing that after every storm, the sun comes out.
Which goes back to some of the things, and sorry for the people that listen to me on every episode, but it always comes back to kind of like having the perspective and self-awareness of where you stand. You know, I was talking to Cynthia Lopez, owner of Cash Bar, by the way, last podcast, and we talked about, you know what, we somehow, some way, we go into the subject of happiness, right? And I think for me, happiness is progress, right? As long as you're moving, even though if it's slow, it is. But bigger than that, it's still the perspective on things, your self-awareness, and I really think that you cannot be unhappy if you have perspective and, again, in that self-awareness of where you stand, right?
Absolutely.
But the problem is, I think that in my opinion, perspective you can get from traveling, meeting other people, hearing different takes. But something that we talked with Cynthia and I, like, can you get self-awareness, that common sense of understanding where you at? Because there's a lot of unhappy people that think they're doing everything right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, okay, that's self-awareness. That's you understanding, if you're getting these negative results, someone has to tell you, kid, you're doing it wrong, you know? So do you have a take on that? I don't have the answer. I'm just like wondering, now that we're talking about that, it sounds like you're agreeing. And again, even though you can tell me that, you're telling me that it just, you have developed.
Yeah.
But your priorities, you even said, like, this was old Johnny, young Johnny, but now I realize, and I'm like, but there was a moment, there was something that he's like, something's not clicking. I'm not as happy as I should. My relationship's not as good as it should. There's something that clicked there for Johnny to be at this level, because Johnny's at this level now.
And honestly, it's just learning your capability. Honestly, it's realizing, like, wanting and knowing you can be great. Yeah. Like there's a very big difference. Like saying, you know what, I know I'm going to be great, but I want it, but what am I going to do to get there? It's falling on your butt many times, man. It's failing many times. It's really humbling when you fail. It really is, because you can one moment you could think you're the most chingon, and in here, but then something happens and you're just like, damn, I'm nothing. I'm nothing, and you're just like, oh, I go back to the old routine that I'm in, and okay, I'll just keep on going back to the same job that I'm in and doing this and not doing stuff. Like, someone's got to either you click or someone's gonna make you click. In my life, it was Ebbs. It was my fiance. I give her a lot of credit, man. She's been she's a very, very strong woman, and honestly, that's why I think it's been a big secret to my success. I mean, she's always been the type, like, man, don't you want more? She was the one that sat there and, like, do you not see how great you are? You not see how badass you are? And I don't like to get my head too far up in the clouds. If you really know me, I'm just very chill. And she's like, dude, you're like, that should be you. We go to Las Vegas and see these DJs, and she's like, you and me both know that these guys suck. You could take these guys out with your eyes closed. She's like, these big name, these guys are just producers. They're not DJs like you. Like, the problem with you is that you're this, and she'll tell me how it is. You're lazy, you'll do this, and it lights a fire under my butt. So for me, it was my partner. It was my partner that, she puts me in check, and she'll tell me. And it's a growing process, man, because honestly, going into relationships, that's, if you're blessed to be in a great relationship, good. A lot of us have been in rocky, shitty relationships, man, where it's just like, yeah, that's just life. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. And I've been with Ebbs for 18 years, going on 18 years this year. And let me just tell you, not everything is Instagram. Like, everyone will make you seem, oh, roses and oh, this and oh, that. Nah, that's just a show. You don't know the cries, the tears, it's over. You don't know the reality of behind things. That's just the honesty behind a relationship. It's sometimes you outgrow each other. Sometimes you go in different directions. The person you met 18, 20, 30 years ago isn't the same person that you're with now. For her, it was her putting putting me into check and saying, dude, don't you want more? Like, you are amazing and you don't have confidence in yourself. And hearing that, it lit a fire under my butt, man. It took a while because I was complacent in life for a long time. I was just like, I'm good. And I thought, why not me? Why not me? Why not me? You know, she's like, dude, you're good looking, you're this and not that I'm good, but this is what she told me, and she probably just told me this because she's my girl. But she's like, you should shoot for the stars, do it. And I'm just like, and it's funny because I heard a lot of my grandma and what she was telling me. And when I lost my grandmother, she was like my grandmother when she totally approved of Ebony, because my grandma approved of nobody, and she called her Barbie, because if you've seen Ebony, she looks like a Barbie, and she'd always be like, "Ay, me lo vas a cuidar," and this and that, and it's funny because she knew my grandma, so like she knew her belief system. She learned from her. She heard her talk. She knew the way she raised me. She knew I was the chiple, but at the same time, she also taught me with love. So hearing Ebbs tell me and put things into perspective sometimes, I was hearing my grandma's voice. It was crazy. And I was just like, levántate, cabrón. Yeah. Do better. You know, get with it. See what you're capable of.
I have to, not only because of you, but also because, hey, there's people that believe in me, right? Like,
yeah. Wow. No, and I really do believe that God puts people in your path that need to be put in your path. You know, I'm a strong believer in that, man. I'm a strong believer in my faith. I'm a strong believer in, you know what? He wants us to live a life that he wants us to live the greatest life. He's for us, not against us. And Ebony, it's funny because she'll always tell me, she's like, why not do something that scares you? Like, do this, do that. You know, it's funny because for the longest time, she's been wanting to move out of the city. You know, she's been the one that's like, let's get out of here. Let's go. And it's funny because lately I've been more like leaning more towards it. But then I'm just like, yeah, I'm still scared of it. But because I love this city so much, and because I know that this is home, you know, I like going on vacations everywhere, but I love coming back here to this city because I love the people. I love the culture. I love our community. I love how close knit we are. And I really do believe that, you know, home is where you hang your hat. Home is where your heart is. Where you know you're making an impact. Yeah. As well. where you can at least make your base out of, and then grow from there. You know, like I always tell her, she's like, you know, that if you were to ever hit the lottery, you'd still live here. I was like, absolutely. You know, I love this city. You know, this is my home city, and that's why I do get offended when people talk shit about it. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about it right now. By the way, yep. I get mad when people talk about here and when they talk bad about Juarez, and when they talk about Las Cruces, I take it personal. Same here, señor. That's one of the reasons why we're here. By the way, acá making a fool of myself. By the way, pero going a little bit back to your girlfriend, it's funny how we were talking about it before recording this, right? And I was sharing with you that I feel content with my life. I really feel happy. I'm not going to say it again because I say it all the time. But la verdad, I feel like really good. And one of the things that I have learned now that I'm more mature, is the importance of finding the right partner. Yeah. That's so difficult. Well, maybe it's not now that you have that mindset, right? But at the same time, because I was saying, bro, you are a DJ, nightlife. She's been with you for a very long time. And like you said, it's not been perfect, of course. But bro, she's with you, right? And you talk about her with a lot of respect, with a lot of love. So like, bro, like the importance of finding the right partner, because again, not only pushing you, but sharing that same mindset and kind of like the same values. So, espérame, even if you have difficult moments, we'll get through this, right? And bro, that again, and it sounds like you realize how lucky you are. I am. It is one part luck, but at the same time, in my opinion, is también no seas tan tonto y ayúdale a Dios. I understand kind of like the people that cross your path, but también you kind of like have to mature and understand like this is a person that maybe is not long term with me. And even though you fell in love y ahorita estás así como perro que this is the best, this is the love of my life, I'm gonna marry this person, fifth one on Facebook for like in 7 years, by the way. The truth is, espérate, like relájate, like there's some things that you do have to think about. And again, for that, I think it goes back to perspective and self-awareness. Absolutely. And that's every relationship, honestly. I mean, if that was the case, then we'd be all with the first person we fell in love with in high school, you know. And kudos to those that have been, you know, up to now, that have been, you know, that were and that are high school still in love. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, because are you there because you're just there? Are you going through the motions? Are you there because you really love this person? You know, and relationships are tough. I always tell everybody, I was like, relationships are tough, man. They're not easy. And they're not for everyone. I understand that. You know, some people are meant to be in relationships. Other people aren't. And that's just the sad reality of it. You know, I went through my phase of you had a playboy in the beginning, and oh my god, and this and that. I'm never gonna settle down, and then you meet that one person that you're just like, wait a minute, that's a little bit different, and why was she different, and everyone's always like, why do you guys? Man, we fight like cats and dogs. Ella me regaña. Yo vengo todo el tiempo regañado, and it's funny, but that's because of that, la quiero mucho, because it humbles me. It puts me into perspective, like, all right, dude, no te creas, or don't be that way. And it's funny, once you find that one person, and if you're blessed in your lifetime to find that one person you click with, don't let go, don't give up, because there's times in relationships where people give up, and hey, you know what? You gotta fight. If you really believe it's meant to be, it's gonna be a dogfight sometimes, man. Some people have it all, roses all the way, great. Other people have it rough, man. Other people have breakups. Other people go through, hell back and forth. With me and Ebbs, I mean, honestly, it's always been a learning process. It's been a growing process, and she outgrew me for a moment. Then I caught up. Then I was complacent, and then she was, and then it was just like it's always been. But it's always been her. Like, she's always been, and that comes from her upbringing. She has really, really great parents. I love them to death, and they always taught her, always shoot for the stars. Always shoot for the stars. And that's I can hear her dad in my ear and her mom in my left. Like, just always be the best. Always be the best. And her dad is man. I look up to him so much. He's a go-getter. He really is. He's that type to, like, why not me? I'm gonna do that. Instead of this, I'm going to do that. No, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that money. I'm going to make this business deal. I'm going to do that. And he taught her like that. So that's how she has her mindset, and I love that about her. And that's what's so attractive to me, is nothing more attractive. Yes, she's beautiful, but honestly, nothing more attractive than a woman that is motivated, driven, and educated. That's just amazing to me. So that's, if anything, that's what won me over tremendously. Because when I met her, she was in college still, so I saw a lot of her, her hardships. I saw a lot of her, basically, she was a waitress at Hooters in Las Cruces, and would do things just to make ends meet. And like, hey, you know what? I got to pick up a shift. And I'd be like, no, don't work. I'd be like, no, don't worry. I got you. And she's like, no. And I love it that her dad taught her, you get your degree, because once you get that degree, I just know that. And it kind of resonates back to my grandparents, hearing the way he raised her and the way he thought. He raised all his daughters to, like, you know what, stand on your own 2 feet, so that way no man, you never have to support, you never have to depend on any man to support you. And I love that, because I was like, awesome. I respect that totally, 100%. And I think that's the way every parent should raise their kids, not just, not just people with daughters. I think everyone should raise their kids like, you know what, one day I'm not going to be here. Be sure that you can hold your own.
Yeah, 100% going back to what your grandma told you throughout the years. Yep. But that's awesome. Congrats again, señor. Te digo, I mean, for your career, not only that, but as a person, right, outside what you do for work, I mean, it's so important someone to have that shares your same values. And again, when you're down or anything, pues you have her to back you up, right? Yeah. And again, now that you have it, pues again, aside from love, again, if you, for someday you don't love or she doesn't love you now, but at the same time, I'm sure that, él me conviene, because again, not only love, but because he's good for me, right? Yeah. And I think that's also so important to understand that one thing is love, and throughout love, you're going to go ahead and make it work. Pero si esta persona no trabaja, like, hey, there is something wrong. You're like, there is something there, Maybe at first you're like, no trabaja because, I'm just going to join the military like in 5 years. We put excuses in our mind. Yep. But the fact is que facts are facts.
It's true. And you got to always realize life always changes. Yeah. Life is always going to change. 1 minute you might want something, the next minute you might not. 1 minute you might want kids, the next minute you might not. 1 minute you might want this career, and the next minute totally something different. I mean, that's just life. I mean, it's going to always throw curveballs at you. If it was meant to be so easy, I mean, I think everyone would have the answer to the secret of happiness. But honestly, we don't. You got to find your own happiness every day. That's awesome. Roll with the punches.
Thank you. We're going to talk a little bit more on the subject of happiness. And also I want to talk about you as a dad, because again, you guys don't have kids together, but she's been with you for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there was some baby mama drama. There are a lot of different things out there. And again, that just proves that you know, she's the right for you.
Yeah.
The right person for you.
Absolutely.
So, like, that's awesome. Senor, going a little bit back to DJing, because I do want to talk a little bit about your career, because I know you started in Juarez. When I was listening to to a certain podcast as far as you working in Vertigo, I'm like, yo estaba ahí en las tardeadas, Chamuco's right next to it, like the drink and drown. I'm like, that's so cool. But again, you living in El Paso, how was the situation, you being the pocho there?
Yeah,
how was
exactly the way it was, man. Honestly, I was this teenager that was coming in, and a lot of the DJs were señores. They were older. They were, you know, we had it was very territorial. They didn't like that this pocho was coming in, this gringo was coming in. Basically, that's the way he saw me, playing a different style of music, throwing a monkey wrench into everything that they basically built, you know. And when I got approached to do the nightlife over there, it was basically by luck, you know. It was one of my friends that, hey man, they have an open spot, what do you think, let's go try it. Okay, cool. I got picked up to go do it. I remember thinking, you know, Juarez was very different back in the 90s. Yes, was there dangers, quote unquote, I'm sure, you know, but honestly, the Juarez that I know and the Juarez that I love is super beautiful. Going to Juarez as a young teenage American DJ, quote American, but you know, not a full-blooded Mexican born in Mexico.
Your first language is English, right?
Yeah,
it's
but what's funny is when I was a kid, all I knew was Spanish, and I learned English later. Go figure. But getting into the cabinas, DJs were brutal, bro. They were mean to me. They would scratch my records. This is when Juarez was never closed. It was 24 hours. It was like Las Vegas. And literally they would, you know, call me names, or they would tell them they wouldn't let me play till the late night, you know, hours. Like, and I'm talking about, you know, 4:30 in the morning, and that's when I would get to play, and I'd be there at 9 till the owner, who really liked me. He was a really like
the owner of which place? Just so
it was Willie Moya. He was
Willie's, right?
Willie's and Vertigos, and he owns so many. You know, the Moyas own so many clubs over there. But Willie basically took a liking to me and gave me a shot at Vertigo. And I'll never forget, it was on a Wednesday, and he had one of his drivers, because I played for one of his clubs in El Paso, Babylon, or was it Metropolis? Yeah, one of those. But he picked me up. His drivers picked me up, and they're like, we're going to take you to go play. And I was like, cool. It was a Wednesday night that I was doing a team night, as a matter of fact. They picked me up in the middle of the team night. We went to Juarez. Wednesdays were super slow, and there was probably about 25 to 30 people. I'll never forget this. I was nervous as hell, and he went up there. I went up there in the DJ booth, and there was nobody, man. It was a dead night, and the DJs were already pissed because, like, who's this guy coming in? So I remember Willie went up there and was like, if you make people dance, I'll give you the job here. And he's like, show me what you can do. And I was like, okay.
How old were you?
I was young, bro. I was 18, 19. Yeah, because I had, up until in the early years of my teens, I was doing guest spots, or I was just going around. I mean, I got kicked out of clubs in Juarez because of the music. They didn't like me, or they just didn't like the style of music I was doing. But yeah, I was about 18. I was 18. And I remember playing the records, and people like, oh, you know, I always focus in on girls. I never play to the guys. That's the secret of DJing. Always play to the women, because the women, as long as they're dancing, the guys are going to be there buying drinks. That's just the way that's the name of the game. So I remember thinking, okay. And I'll never forget this. I was thinking, okay, this girl looks like she can, you know, she somewhat knows what I'm about to play. So I was like, all right. So I basically just played out record, and okay, little vibe. And then little by little, one couple started dancing, and then another couple started dancing. Before you know, I had everyone dancing, man. And
you got the job.
And yeah, he came back up, and I'll never forget him. I still have the mental image in my head, because he used to have to climb up to the stairs to go into the DJ booth. These were cabinas, like fregonas. So he climbed up, and he opened the thing, and he's like, I want you here Thursday through Sunday. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay. I was like, yeah. And the other DJs were pissed. So from then, I mean, it's crazy, because the DJs, it went from a love-hate or a hate-love relationship, because they ended up being some of my best buddies there in Juarez, man. They went from not accepting me to being like, accepting me. I'll never forget.
Respecting you, no?
Yeah, well, or knowing my place, and actually taught me, to tell you the truth, man. Because I remember one DJ in particular, man. His name's Chucky, and he's still a DJ. And shouts to Chucky. I'll never forget. He was the resident for Willie many years. He was there probably when Vertigo started, and he's older. He's way in his 50s, and I remember him telling me, "Tus mezclas faltan impacto," and I'll never forget when he went like that, impacto. And I never knew what he meant. He's like, "Tú tocas así, mira, tum, 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 tum." He's like, necesitas el boom, boom, sas, sas. And I was just like, and it took me to realize what he meant. Like, my mixing style had to be more explosive and this and that, and, you know, getting to the point more. And I would listen to him, and I'd be like, he's like, "Ya ves." And como it was the way he did it. It was an art of bringing in the song to where the main part was already dropping when one song was ending, like at that main part. So it's like a lot of DJ stuff, but it just made it flow better.
And you learn from so many people like that, right?
So when I heard him by listening to that, when I heard what he was telling me, and I could have been like, "That's menso," you know. I was like, "Yeah, right," you know, or "Man, I'm better than you." No, dude. I sat there and I absorbed because I was open to learn. And when I heard that, I'm just like, "I got you," you know. And boom, I started incorporating into my mixes. And dude, before I knew it, we were good friends. And yeah, I went through my tough times with them. Yeah, they would scratch my records. Like, seriously, I would leave the cabina, they scratch my records and me los tumbaban. Or they would break the cords off some of the turntables, man. They would like cut them so that way the turntable, because I would use records.
I can just imagine the feeling once they started respecting you, that you know it, like, oh.
Well, it's because you know what? Because I started bringing results, man.
Mm-hmm.
What I started doing was I started bringing a lot of Americans for their Thursday night college nights, to the point where we were getting 2,000 or 3,000 people, on Thursdays. Yeah. It was crazy. It was just the times were insane. I mean, I've never experienced a nightclub like that with just so much that had so much impact on it. But
did you ever play at Esfinge?
You know what I did? Esfinge at the end of it. Esfinge I was already kind of transitioning out of Juarez. I left Juarez for good. I stopped taking residencies in 2002, 2003, and that's because I had a friend from Juarez that was murdered. And
was this a DJ or just
It was a DJ. And he was basically, he looked up to me. I was his role model. And rest in peace to my friend DJ Comics. And when he did that, when he was murdered, I could never see the same places that we'd all hang out at because we were all very close. And I just knew it was time for me to move on.
How old were you now? How many years did you DJ?
I was there forever, man. I was 2002. It was it was 2001 because it was right after September 11th, if I remember correctly. But it was like 2 years later. I was doing guest spots here and there. But like as far as residencies, after 2001, I didn't want to just always be going to Juarez anymore. Just, it wasn't the same because I missed him so much. I mean, we would always hang out, and to know that, the way a lot of the circumstances happened around his death was, it was just horrific to me. Yeah. And to know that it was a senseless murder, was heartbreaking. And it was hard for me and my friends, because a lot of my DJ friends in El Paso, we loved him, and still do. We saw him as one of us. So after that, I just knew it was like, I'm not, I'm kind of gonna pump the brakes on doing gigs in Juarez. So I stopped, doing a lot of events over there, and focused a little bit more on El Paso. And then Las Cruces started opening up more, so I started, shifting more that way as well. So yeah, that was, but Juarez to me will always have a special place in my heart. I love Juarez. Honestly.
Do you still go often or not as
often?
I don't.
You know what? For a long time I didn't have my passport.
Okay.
But I wouldn't go, man. And honestly, I just, it's funny because in my mind I still see the old places as the old places, and I know that they're not there anymore.
Which one was your favorite place in Juarez from that era?
Oh, without a doubt, Vertigos, man. Yeah. Vertigos. Because a lot of people tell you the Derby, which, I would do spots there because my buddy Freddie was the DJ there. And then Copacabana, there was so many good memories there. The Submarino. Me and my radio partner Javi got thrown out of, was it Cosmos or Sarawak, when we tried to play there when we were kids. They threw us out because our music sucked. It was hilarious. But nah, Vertigo's without a doubt for me was the game changer, just simply because people went to dance. You know, it wasn't about bottle popping, and I didn't even know if people bought bottles back then. It was just they wanted to dance. Girls would dress up.
People?
Yeah, girls would dress up, and it wasn't about I'm wearing Gucci, I'm wearing Louis Vuitton, I'm wearing Fendi, I'm wearing Balenciaga. No, it was about, hey, I'm coming as I'm dressed, and I'm gonna tuck in my shirt and look nice, and me voy a peinar, you know. And girls were dressed in heels and iban a bailar, and that's what it was about. It was just about having a good time. So for me, it was Vertigos. I mean, don't get me wrong, there was so many awesome clubs, but yeah, for me, Vertigos will always be. It's always gonna hold a special place in my heart. But
of course.
And I always went to Juarez as a kid. You know, my grandmother, we would take the bus on the weekends, and you know, I'd go to the mercado. We'd go eat, you know, tortas. My grandparents loved the dog races. Do you remember the dog races?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So,
¿cómo se llama la?
Coliseo, no?
No. Oh my God,
yes.
My friends are gonna be like, "Este tonto." Okay, we'll come back to it.
Yeah,
but
the dog races. So we'd always go. We were always over there. So we were. I mean, I was in Juarez.
What were your grandparents thinking, or did they allow you to work in Juarez, like in 2, 3, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning? Were they okay with it?
It's funny because, you know, I would literally las mentiras. Dude. I would have to, you know, I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna.
Were you spending the night every single weekend?
Or you know, after a while, I just, you know, after a while they knew I was basically working somewhere. But yeah, you know, and it's funny because I remember my grandma telling me, she's like, no vengas con esas madres, basically saying, I hope you're not in that lifestyle. And I'm like, no. And I told her I'm in music and this and that, and she already knew. And you know, she wouldn't worry a lot, which I'm sure she did, but it's crazy because I still remember certain, you know, days I'd get home and it was in the morning and she's rolling tortillas and making breakfast, and you know, she's like, I was worried about you. I was like, no, but I'd be fine. Back then, there was no cell phones. There was nothing. Yeah. You know, it's just like, ojalá que llega bien. Y, you know, basically, you go persinado and hopefully you came back home, you know. But yeah, no, it was interesting times with my grandparents, explaining to them, you know, how I was working in Juarez. And I had to explain, especially for my grandfather, because my grandfather was very, you know, as long as you're getting paid, and back then, I mean, I wasn't getting paid nothing, man. It was.
You weren't getting paid?
No. Not back then. I mean, when I started, I was probably making $150 for like.
Torta del Salomón,
yeah,
I'm sure that's what it was.
But I was $150 for the whole weekend, and I was just like, woohoo! But I was playing, I was having fun, I was doing the music, you know, till I started learning, like, man, I'm kind of bringing people. I mean, you start learning the business side of it, and you kind of realize what you're worth, you know. I remember hitting him. I was scared to hit up the boss for a raise, and he's like, "Yeah, of course." I was wondering when you were gonna ask, and it's funny. I mean, it's totally, it's a learning experience, and everyone you know, at some point in their DJ life goes through it. So yeah.
Nice. Talking about DJing, senor, someone as myself that I'm not an expert in, like, and tell me, correct me if I'm wrong or if you think differently, but my perspective is based on social media. Like a lot of like the trend is photographers and DJs. Es lo que yo veo más, que digo, okay, well, I mean, that's good for them. But my question is, like, how can you tell good ones versus bad ones? Or I'm not going to say bad ones because I'm sure if they're starting, of course. But, like, regular one, when do you know, like, sabes que this guy is good? What is the difference?
Well, honestly, I mean, it's because you're asking a veteran DJ. I mean, technology has made it so easy for anyone to DJ nowadays. Hasta chavillos. Now, when you see them scratching and doing stuff live, obviously that's a skill. But also as a DJ ear, you also know what's a good scratch and what's a bad scratch and what are just doing, you know, mamadas on the turntables. I just think, honestly, you grow into being a DJ. You gotta really realize, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for unfortunately, this generation, a lot of them are just doing it to be cool. A lot of them are doing it to get girls, try to make a quick buck. But for me, I think, you know, everyone's like, how are you still relevant in such a industry that, you know, a lot of the youth is taking over? Is because I've done it for the passion of music, man. I've done it for my love of the music that I play, the music that I push, and that I don't even produce music. It's just that I'm known for doing this, you know, for so long with this style of music. I've never strayed away, because I could have easily fallen into like, I'm the biggest now reggaeton DJ, I'm the biggest now hip hop DJ. No, I mean, people know me. Hey, yeah, he plays reggaeton and this stuff, but his bread and butter is house and dance music. You know, I love that stuff. I've always, that's my passion. Like, I love it. Like, I just heard a record on the way over here that one of my friends sent me, and I'm just like, I can't wait to play it tomorrow. I mean, I'm already thinking that in my head. You know, I'm listening to things, and good, you know, honestly, good DJs, and how do you distinguish them? It's weird, because there's DJs that, I mean, obviously people love that I listen to, and I'm just like, yeah, you know, I'd rather just keep my comments to myself. But it's someone else's thing. It goes back to music. You know, it goes back to, hey, you know what, this style of music sucks. Or, hey, you know what, hey, if that's someone else's DJ, cool. I'm not gonna hate on them. If that's someone else's, you know, passion, that they love this person, and they love this DJ, cool. That's their style. That I'm not gonna knock on it. I mean, I think everyone has their following. But the veteran DJs, those ones that did it on vinyl, that did it on no technology. I mean, we know who's out there doing real stuff, and it's interesting, because there's a lot of famous DJs that don't DJ. They're not DJs. They're producers, which is nothing wrong with that. But I mean, they're making, you know, $70 million a year in Vegas at residencies, and you're just like, dude, you're playing a pre-recorded mix, or you're just pressing play and not doing anything. You know, basically, that's just the way that the game has changed. It really has. So I don't really know how to answer that when you say, how do you know good and bad?
No, that's a perfect answer, because it goes back to, well, whatever feels good to you. But then, of course, once you go into the skill set, of course, it gets a little bit more technical as far as what is it that maybe you consider what a real DJ is versus not. Because
I've done a lot of shows. I've opened up for a lot of DJs where basically it was hey, let me connect. Like, I set up my stuff where I DJ, and I'll use my turntables and my mixer, and I'll be like, hold on, I'll tell the manager, let me, connect. And I've been told many times, I mean, I don't kiss and tell on what DJs it was, but we're like, don't worry, we're not even gonna need this plugged in. And I'm just like, damn, you guys charged all this money to play them a pre-recorded mix. That's horrible. So yeah, that was always my take on it.
That's crazy.
I just keep those to myself.
Of course. Ahorita, please tell me now. I'll post it with a clip here. So you're closing on the subject of being a DJ. Out of your close to 30 years that you've been in music, working like your passion, I mean, all these things that you have done, what are some of the most memorable that you remember that if you stop right now, like, you know what, I'm taking this. I'm sure there's a lot, but what are some like top 2, top 3, like, ¿sabes qué? I'm gonna take this back.
One for sure was, there's been some lately, and there's been some in the past. I mean, I can't really narrow it down, but the most memorable ones, one of the biggest ones that I did, opening up the Sun City Music Festival for SCMF. It was just a massive crowd. I'll never forget that, because openers, you get all the big name DJs coming in later in the night, so that's when the crowd gets there. But for the love and the support that I got, people being there at 6:30 for my set, and basically having a packed stage was just overwhelming. Like, I literally, my eyes were watery when I was about to play. I was just like, wow, and hearing people chant my name, people wearing my shirts, people wearing my signs, and just having signs of my name. It was amazing. That was humbling. It showed love that my city has for me, and it's something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. That for sure was one moment, and that was for the Sun City Music Festival. I can't remember the year. I think it was, I want to say it was either 2012. I want to say it was 2012 or 2000. No, it must have been 2012. That moment. And then there's been, honestly, very humbling nights. Been so many nights where I just didn't want the music to stop. There was some nights at Plum City Lounge in Union Plaza where I didn't want the music to stop. Republic, same thing. Motel Bar, but recently, the drive-ins during the pandemic, after the pandemic, selling out. My Noche de Juarez drive-in was just amazing. It was. Because
I heard you were doubtful that you were that it was going to be a success, right? So was it the biggest kind of like success story was seeing that you were able to do it, that it's you alone making that happen? Was that it?
Well, because, Noche de Juarez, it's a super popular. It's a brand. I mean, I've always been, we were talking about this. I've always been the, you got to brand yourself in order to be something. And honestly, with Noche de Juarez, it's a party that I had been throwing. I had this in my back pocket. I'm always thinking, I don't know, I guess I can say I'm kind of like a robot because it's like when I DJ. When I'm playing one song, I'm already 3 songs ahead where I'm going. Wow. So I'm playing this song to lead up to this. And then from there, I'm going to go. That's how I'm already thinking. So I already know what records I'm going. And it changes all the time. So with the Noche de Juarez party, I started throwing my own event parties when I was in a position to have hand in that money, because I understand it's also a business at the end of the day. Se me prendió el foco, and I'm like, when I realize, and it comes back to Ebony being like, damn, dude, you're making club owners rich, but are you becoming rich? And it hit like a ton of bricks. So I'm just like, well, yeah, but and I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, here I am busting my ass working, 4 or 5 nights out of the week and desveladas, and damn, you're right. These are the guys that are, I don't want to say rolling in the dough, but they're living nice. So after a while, it kind of resonated with me, and I'm just like, yeah, you're absolutely right. And it was her business savviness that really kind of woke me up. It really did. It really did. And that's the honesty of it. And I'm just like, damn, you're right. You're using my name to make bank. Wait a minute.
And I'm sure that even opens like a different perspective on Tasca that lights a fire. And now, like, I'm still doing music, but now I'm taking it from this side, right? And I want to talk about the rooftop. Mm-hmm. I want to see what you learn from there. I want to open up a bar, but like, espérate, because it's not as simple as that. And I'm not doing it because of the, it's the guy's dream to open up a bar, I'm thinking, right? But it's not about that. It is a very profitable business if you know how to manage it, right?
It is. It really is, man. And honestly, like, going back to the whole throwing the parties, I held this in my pocket because it was that Noche de Juarez card, because I knew I was going to do this party eventually somewhere down my career. I knew
by yourself, like outside the club, right?
No, I knew I was going to do this. I just needed to know when to strike when the iron was hot, if you know what I mean. So I needed to know that I was going to be able to benefit off this financially as well when I took it to a club, because I knew the potential it was going to bring to that club, if that makes sense. Yeah. So when I was offered to be a co-owner of Rooftop, I was very appreciative, and I learned a lot, man. Honestly, I was thrown into the fire, and I took a totally different respect for being an owner on the owner side, because it's a chinga. It's responsibility, especially with, unfortunately, with alcohol and people that don't know how to act. Not everyone, some. It's a responsibility. It's a headache. That neighbors that are unhappy that you're in the neighborhood, that you're disturbing their peace and quiet, maybe that their properties are getting destroyed, fights that are happening, someone that got hit with a bottle. You just, it is so much responsibility and headache and just things that, like, I do not miss at all, to tell you the truth, being on the owner side. Kudos to all the owners, man. Honestly, it was a learning process. Would I ever do it again? Maybe. I really would.
Under different circumstances, I'm thinking.
If I were to have 100% control as far as clientele, what I want to let in, what I don't want to let in, I would. I mean, honestly, and the genre of music that I go, and that's it. Because I think a lot of it has to do with all those factors, of your secret of success. And I've seen the places that have been successful, that have, withheld so many different things. I mean, or withstood so many different situations that were thrown at them. It's tough, But I mean, would I jump in it again? Yeah, maybe I would. I mean, I'd consider it. But yeah, no, Rooftop was definitely a learning experience for me, and that's where I started doing the Noche de Juarez party.
That's when it started.
That's when I started, because I was like, okay, I want to do something that at least I know I'm going to benefit from in the long run. I'm not just going to make a couple of $100 here. I mean, I want to make some cash.
I never went, but when I heard that you were the owner, I don't know if I heard you were the sole owner or co-owner, whatever it was, but I was like, that makes so much perfect business sense, because he not only know, like, it's not only you. like what you do as a DJ, but you also been in the night scene for so long, and everything makes sense. Like, oh, I wonder what lessons he got, and if you already answered that, if you will be open to, so okay, I'm gonna try it again, but maybe a different take on it.
Oh, it's a headache, man. You know, you learn one thing, and there's one clear way to say, if you're not there, if you're not there to count, you don't count. If that makes sense, which means if you're not there to count your money at the end of the night, you're not gonna count. So, I mean, thieves comes in all shapes, sizes, forms. You know, you gotta always watch your back, and I understand. It's the tricks of the trade. You get, you know, scammed on from bartenders that know how to manipulate and you know, I could take a little bit more here and this and that, and that's their hustle, you know. And you get your managers that you sometimes you think you can trust, you can't, and then sometimes, unfortunately, maybe the partners that you partnered up with or whatever, you know. You got to be smart and all that, and sometimes it's a learning process all the time, you know. Is it always going to be a home run? No, you know. Rooftop was open for 3 years. I was out after, I believe, 2.5 years. It's just like, yeah, it's not for me.
Do you mind talking specifically as far as the reason why? Was it like many events? Was it just one that you're like, Saskia,
you know what? I had a falling out with partners, man. I'm not afraid to say that. And
just had different paths.
We're just different on different paths, different views. They were opening up other things, and basically they understood that that bar was already running its course and had already exhausted all its resources. So I understood that as well, and it was just the perfect time for me to jump out, because I had basically done everything to try to keep. I mean, I've always been given the toughest assignments as far as a DJ. I've done the biggest venues, you know, here with capacity wise. I mean, I did a place called 2310, which is the old Graham Central Station on Lee Trevino, which was a humongous place. You know, filling it up with even 1,500 people like I did, it looked empty because the capacity felt like 5,000 people. You know, I've always had big spaces that I'm just like, damn, you know, they'll call me like, can you do this? And I'm just like, oh, you know, I'm like, great, you know. So Rooftop was definitely it was a smaller venue, but I understood that the nightlife scene, certain places will only run and extend, and you either change your style or you got to do something else to stay relevant, or, you know, sell the business, you know. But yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely a falling out with the two partners that I had. Okay. Yeah, and honestly, it's just, you know, at that point in my life, I was just like, yeah, you know what, this isn't something that I wanna pursue, because it's so much liability, it's so much headache, and unfortunately, the few bad apples that we do have here in El Paso ruin it for a really, really great nightlife scene. And, you know, we have a ton of cagapalos. Let's be honest. You know, we've seen it all. We see it every weekend on FitFam, and we see it every weekend on the news, you know, and now it's even gotten worse. And unfortunately, it affects everyone's business, man. It not only affects that establishment, but it affects the surrounding district in it. So that's unfortunate.
Nice. Thank you for sharing, senors.
Absolutely.
Really good. I was asking Cynthia, as far as, you know what, I before I open it, if I'm gonna open it, of course, is that I want to be a bartender for like a lot of months, several months, because I do want to get a really good take on how's it dealing with employees, with the customer. Like there's so many factors that it's not as easy as, bro, everybody drinks in El Paso, so you make money. It's not as simple as that.
No, it's not, man. And then you got there's a lot of stuff that behind the scenes that go on, man. You got to deal with TABC, which sometimes they're not the easiest people to deal with. You got to deal with the city. Sometimes they're not the easiest people to deal with. You got to deal with the fire marshal. Sometimes they're not the easiest people to deal with. I mean, it just comes with a lot, and you can't burn bridges. Yeah. Because, I mean, I'd rather have them as friends than as enemies, you know, because once they have it out for you, they have it out for you. Nice. That's just the truth.
Yeah, I like that. Senor, going now into, we're talking about it, and I really am very interested in your take on this, because with your morning show and the things that you have done and that you continue doing as far as either the nightlife or representing a certain club, bar, restaurant that you work at, you deal with a lot of business owners. You have such a unique perspective, because your listeners, I'm guessing, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that most of them are regular folks like me, 8 to 5 commuters that listen to you before work, right? So you have that perspective. You have a perspective of business owners and different things. And this is one question that I usually ask at the end, but I'm sure that you have a very unique take on El Paso as a whole, right? Like, is it like all those things that you hear about El Paso? This morning I heard a lady from, was it Las Cruces that she was calling Albuquerque? She's like, typical El Paso. And oh, it's not her fault she thinks that way, in my opinion. But I'm like, oh, I really wonder, because of all the interactions that you have on a daily basis, what is your take as a whole in our city? And after that, if you don't mind telling us, what is it that you love about our city and one thing that you would like to change or improve? But first of all, your take, are all those things that people think about El Paso, are they true? Are they not? Senor, give us your unique perspective.
Honestly, I mean, I'm going to be biased here because I love our city. You know, I really believe in our city, and I believe in the people of our city. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on radio. I'm just saying that because I've seen the goodness come out in people. I saw it during the Walmart shooting. I saw it in different circumstances that we've been under. When people have attacked our city, I saw the greatness that we can be. Is there stereotypes here? Absolutely. Is there stereotypes in any city? Yeah. Unfortunately, every city has bad apples. People like to bash on El Paso because maybe we're so far away from the rest of, all the cities in Texas. I think we got some damn good people here. We got hardworking people here. We got a lot of culture here. I think we get crapped on sometimes for wrong reasons, that stuff that is out of our hands. We also got to realize that we have a lot of military that get stationed here from other parts of the country, and they're not used to our culture. So sometimes those two clash. They really do. And I've seen it happen all the time. Seen it happen in the nightlife. I've seen it happen just in general sometimes. We're blessed to have Fort Bliss here. Yes, we all live together. Juarez, we're blessed to have that. Those people come from Juarez, come here and pump our economy, man, as Fort Bliss does as well too, man. People from Las Cruces. I think we're a very unique area because we got two cities and another country right next to us. Do I believe like that El Paso is a bad city? Hell no, man. I think we're a damn good city. I just think that it's represented wrong, sometimes by the media, sometimes by hearsay, and sometimes by, unfortunately, people that lived here for a little bit and just said, this isn't for me, and they take off and, that's a crap city, this and that. But, we know we have good people, man. We really do. I just wish that people would get along with each other a little bit better. Can we always be better? Absolutely. Every city can. Does every city have crime? Absolutely. People always like to, now we're not the safest city in the world. We're not the safest city in the here. Things are going to happen. Things are going to happen. That's just every city. You're going to have crime. You're going to have theft. And unfortunately, you're going to have murders. That's just life in general. But to answer your question, I mean, no, I don't believe in the stereotypes that outsiders think of El Pasoans. I think we have a lot of good, hardworking, honest people. I think a lot of people struggle here. And I think a lot of people learn how to survive here. And I think the ones that leave here and bash it, I don't really think they understand or maybe capture the true essence of what our city is about and the uniqueness that we have here as any other part of the nation, man. But I think El Pasoans are really, really great people, man. I really do. I mean, and it baffles me sometimes when I see the bad statements and the stereotypes that we get. I'm just like, wow, we just had the guys from Jersey Shore here, and I saw them in cowboy boots and this and that. And it's funny because I was not really defending, but I was saying, hey, you know what? I put up a post on Facebook saying, hey, guys, just if you see these people out, don't call them names or don't try to instigate something. Have some class. That's all I'm saying. And the reason why is because I'm like, our city they already look at our city sometimes in a bad way. You don't need that negative light. Why not show them, hey, it's a beautiful city and whatnot. So if they want to portray El Paso like a tumbleweed city and cowboy boots and we're in wagons, what can you do? The ones that live here and the ones that have lived here all their life, I call myself homegrown because I was born and raised here. We know it's not like that. Do we need to grow? Yeah, we can always, we got to be more open-minded. How can we change in different ways? I think I can say this because I'm born and raised, a lot of us got to stop, not all, some have to stop expecting everything for free. Oh, well, I can't do it because it's not affordable. It's not, but yet you go to Disneyland and pay un huevo. You go here, para pichar unas birrias, you don't mind, But here in El Paso, when someone raised their beer price to 25 cents or their plate for their enchiladas by $1, you're pissed. That doesn't make sense either. You know, I mean, you got to stop being like that. I mean, it's someone has to say it, man. And if it's that person is me, then it's me.
No, trust me. I'm like, you know what, bro? In my mind, as you're saying this, I'm like, you need to shut up, not at anything, because it's very well said. And again, that's one of the reasons why, because I'm doing this because I want to showcase there's so many great things. The people that, no hay nada que hacer en Paso. Espérate, maybe you, your friends, your circle, but there's so many great things to do. Also, so many great people. It's just the perspective. And like you said, you need to be a little bit more open-minded. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so true to everything. And
Absolutely.
Going back, and I think it translates to empathy. Mm-hmm. If you don't like something, quédate callado, or try to see the good side. Or, I mean, there's so many different takes on be open-minded. Like, yep, I agree. Now, follow-up question on that. How can we help being a little bit more open-minded? Do you have a how can we help or be a little bit more open-minded? Little, of course. Is there any ideas?
You know, I've always said, well, how about, putting up positive things about the city? Instead of just always like, oh, yeah, this, that. How about putting up stuff good that happens here? Good. How about spreading good stories about things that are done good here? About maybe, a fundraiser that went well, or maybe there's some cool event for the family that's coming. How about pushing that instead of pushing the negative stuff that the guy was driving on the wrong side of the freeway? Yes, we all know that's going to be on the news.
Oh, but what about wrong?
Yeah, but why? What about putting stuff that's positive? Stuff that shines a light on our city. Like with it's funny because you say this. Not too long ago, a couple of months ago, I had someone reach out to me, and I have listeners from literally all over the world because of SiriusXM. I had someone write to me, and they're like, dude, how do you know the music you play living in the desert? And it's funny because I took offense to that, but I was just like, and I had to hold myself back, and I'm just like, it's a beautiful city, bro. It's, we really do have, a really great city. Our downtown is getting better. It's becoming beautiful. There's El Pasoans, there's people, entrepreneurs that are taking risks, and support them. They're following their business endeavors and say, hey, I'm going to open up this. I'm going to try it. Like, encourage that. We can all grow together, support each other. We're talking about supporting local. There's so many different levels of supporting local that, people don't understand or maybe don't agree with. But I think shining a positive light in our city is definitely the right direction, instead of just always focusing on the bad stuff that happens. Bad stuff happens in every city, man. I mean, it's the honest truth. You can go to the bigger cities. There's 10,000 times more crime, but it's because here, we're supposed to be the safest city. Like, honestly, as you grow, you're going to get more problems. You're going to get more issues. Yes, do I not like that the city manager is making a lot of money? Yeah, I don't. Yes, do I know our drainage system sucks? Yes. All we can do is, all I can get on my mic and say, hey, man, help us, do something. Hey, all maybe you can do is get on your thing. Hey, guys, maybe some of that taxpayer money, but don't do it in such a negative way. Like, se está clavando.
Without understanding.
Yes. You got to really be smart about what you're sometimes what you're posting, and I get it, sometimes we can all be loose-lipped and whatnot, but I think shining a positive light on the city that we all love, man, would definitely help. Not making it seem like it is just a dry desert, and and I've encountered a lot of people that think that way, like, it's old-fashioned, or do we even have internet? I've had people that didn't even think we had roads paved, seriously. And it's funny, I was like, man. And they get here and they're like, damn, it's a beautiful city, and man, the food is amazing, and you have beautiful women and the culture and this and that, and they're shocked. Ask our military, how many of them retire and they come back to live in El Paso because they loved it here. And it's just fact.
That's awesome, senor. Thank you so much for sharing that. To close up our conversation, what are your future goals, your plans? Talk to us a little bit about what Johnny sees in 5-10 years. What do you see yourself doing?
It's funny, man, because I have I know I don't want to do radio forever, obviously.
When you say you don't want to do it because
I want to transition, and I don't know what I'm going to transition to. I kind of know the direction I want to go, but I just don't want to say it.
Okay.
But I love radio, and I still am passionate about it. DJing, I'm always gonna DJ, man. I love it. I mean, I love music. Business endeavors, I'm still gonna do events, have silent events, because I've learned I just want to be on the sidelines and just be like, cool. I just want to, be successful without like having to make so much noise. Because honestly, man, it's like I told you, I live by that saying that I always talk about is, work in silence, success will make your noise. That's how I've always lived my life. And I see more of that, man. Just, what? I don't have to be my own cheerleader. The people that love me and my success is going to do that for me. You see people like, oh, estoy el más fregón, or I'm going to do this and I'm going to put it on business. I'm going to make millions. And I don't need to do that. I just be humble. I'm appreciative and grateful of everything that I get and all the opportunities I get, and to grow. I definitely want to open some businesses. I see myself going in that direction. As for radio, I don't know. I really can't answer that, and you'll be the first podcast that I break that to. I don't know how much longer I have on radio, man. I know that there are some radio hosts that have done it for a long time. There's some viejonones in the city that, you guys know the names. They're homegrown names, and I get it. Not to say anything bad about them. It's just, I don't want that for me just yet. You know what I mean? I'm not at that point where I'm saying, I'm going to go ahead and be a radio host till I'm 60. I don't want to do that. I just want to say, hey, you know what? I do have business endeavors that I do plan to take, a chance on. And along the way, believe it or not, man, I want to help people. Yeah. I truly do want to help people. It was funny because I was just talking to Ebbs about this not too long ago, and she's like, you should talk to kids, especially kids that had a rough upbringing, and I was talking about that, and I was like, you know what, it's funny because I never went to college, man. I went to college and I goofed around, and I was like, this isn't for me, and I was a party kid, and puro party, and and lately it's kind of been like, maybe I should go back and just to do something, and maybe be a therapist, or be able to talk to kids and encourage them that they can be great and do things, and screw the odds that are against you, because I was once there, man. I was once there, and like, damn, like, why is everyone else getting nice things and I'm not getting anything? Or why don't we have a car and everyone else does? Or just and it made me think. And again, it goes back to her encouraging me, saying, hey, maybe you should do that. And I think you always have to challenge yourself. So I definitely see myself headed in that direction, because honestly, it's been something that I have been a little bit more open to recently, of having that conversation with her about, like, what do you think about that? And I'm like, yeah, because I know she's always encouraged me to go back to school. She really has. And me, I lose my attention right away. I get, everyone's like, no, it's because you have that. I was like, no, it's not. It's just that I get bored. I'm like, it's because I'm so stubborn. I'm just like, I don't want to go back to college because I don't want to take all the damn prereq classes that I don't need, that I know I'm never going to need, and we joke about this all the time on the radio show. I'm not going to need these courses for anything, but you're like, yeah, but you just get them done, and yeah, you do them online, and you don't have to. And I go, yeah, yo, viejo non. And she's like, you don't know how many people that are older that go back and get their, degrees later on in life. And I was just reading about, LeBron James going back to, school when he retires and this and that. And I'm just like, that's encouraging. It's inspiring to me, because you never stop learning, and I'm never going to stop hustling. I'm never going to stop learning, till the day God calls me home, man. And that's what I see for me, honestly. And I do see myself helping the youth in some way. Yeah. So I definitely see that's the direction. And I think that's the direction, more importantly, that God's pointing me in, and I feel it. And it's funny because it's the same kind of calling that I got with music, if that makes sense, because I know there's a lot of kids out there that need help and that need maybe some different guidance. A different perspective. Yeah. Like, that need to hear it from someone who did, kind of like defy the odds that were against them, because some stuff like this isn't supposed to happen to, kids according to society like me. And when it does, it's I think something that has to be shared, and experience that can be encouraging to others, that might be able to inspire them to do better for themselves.
And you do that with your heart. You can tell there's no pretending that you really want to help, that you find joy, happiness in doing so, in impacting someone in a positive way. That's why even this conversation alone, you have impacted me, like seeing different things, different perspectives on different takes. I'm like, oh my God, this is so valuable, right? And again, I it's my opinion that you can only reach that level, again, not only success financially, but at that level of you being happy, content, okay, until you have, like, I don't know, achieved certain level of, you know what, I know my priorities, I know this, and I am happy. And again, maybe I didn't ask you this, but it's more than evident that you're a happy person, man.
I am. I really am. I really am. And I am a happy person. I'm not going to lie, man. I am. It makes me, I got to answer the wife.
Go for it. No worries.
But she's going to see this podcast. She's going to laugh. She's like, that's when I was texting. I was like, yeah, that's when you were texting me being a bugaboo. No, but honestly, I am a happy person. And I wasn't before, man. Honestly, I went through dark moments in my life, man. I went through really, really dark moments. That's why I can talk on so many different things. Sometimes the jokes that I crack on the radio are, every little joke has some truth to it, I've been in the point where, I ask myself, is life worth living? I've been at those moments. I've been in those dark spots. I've been in those moments of turning my back on God. I've done it all, man. I've had those doubts in my life of like, the hell am I doing? And again, in all that darkness, I don't know why. All I saw was him. All I found was him. And for those that don't believe in God, just know that this is my testimony to him, that my promise to him to help me was to help others. And if that makes sense in any way, because there was some moments that I think, man, I shouldn't be sitting here. I shouldn't be, maybe I should be underground, or maybe I shouldn't even be here. I've had those thoughts in my head in the past when I was in very, very dark spots. And
was it mainly also when you were like in the public eye, seen as successful because you were in the night scene? You were already, again, you had constant work, but yet a lot of people, I'm assuming, that did not really know at that time what were you really struggling with?
It was a lot of it. It was a lot of everything, man. It was a lot of just emptiness that I had, especially just when my grandmother died, I went through a lot of dark moments where I just felt alone. I had a lot of doubt, and what basically got me out of that stuff is just hearing her voice. Remembering her saying, you know what, like I crafted you for this moment to know what to do. I don't dishonor me by not, everything I taught you, you're going to throw out the window.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but it was just a lot of different things, man. There was a lot of stuff where I was just like, I'm never going to amount to shit. I'm never going to amount to anything. I'm never going to be successful. I'm human. I've had those thoughts. I've had those doubts. I'm not happy. I had gone through a baby mama drama, and I was just like, oh my God, this, I'm this. I doubted myself in so many ways. It was just, happiness. It's not given, man. It's actually, you find it. It's not given. People just don't wake up and I'm happy. I wake up every day now, and honestly, there's days that I don't feel like doing anything. There's days that I'm lazy. There's days that I'm just like, But then I think about that one person or those people that didn't wake up today. Or I think about that one person that may have lost their life to a terminal, illness, and what they would do just to do what I was doing right then and there. And that motivates the shit out of me, and it makes me get out of bed and say, I'm going to make today the best day of my life, because who knows if tomorrow comes. So that's how I find my happiness every day. And sometimes I'm arguing with Eb. Sometimes we're fighting. Sometimes we're this. But guess what? I check it in. When I go to my radio show, I'm like, you know what? I leave it all at the door, because that's not what they're there for. They're there for me to entertain. They're there for me to make them laugh. And that's what I'm going to bring. So I think, happiness comes in different forms. And it was hard for me to understand that when I was younger. It really was, man, because a lot of young people throw in the towel right away, and they're just like, this life is not worth living. And it goes back to a lot of things that, honestly, there's been so many messages, and I'll say this, and this is totally off the subject, but honestly, do you know how many messages I've had in my inbox of someone telling me, you know what, man, I was contemplating suicide, and I heard you say something, or I heard you play a song, and it made me change my mind, or it made me think about it twice, or just say, this, what am I thinking, or snap out of it. That to me is worth more than any paycheck anything I will ever accomplish because you touch someone in a different level that not many people can touch. And that's why I'm so careful on things that I say. I'm so careful on, certain subjects, because I don't know how someone in a sensitive moment in their life can be taking that. If someone's going to take offense and saying, yeah, see that guy, he just said it on the radio and my life ain't crap. So I take that every day. I think about that. Every day I think about, whose life can you impact and how can you do it in a positive way, instead of, maybe there's that one person that you're that last stream of hope, maybe that they're about to turn off the radio and you said something positive or you played something positive that was just like, something clicked or made them snap. I think about that a lot, man, because I have had friends that have took their own life. I have had friends that, contemplate cancer. So I have friends that go through depression. I have friends right now that are going through bad depressions that I have to always check up on because I worry about them doing something to themselves. So yeah, man, I mean, honestly, that's my happiness, and that's where I kind of see my calling is like, I think I'm getting cut out to help people, man.
Yeah, definitely. So, that was extremely powerful. I just want to thank you and acknowledge that.
Thank you.
It is evident. You can tell, again, when I was like from the radio, my guys, man, you can tell you're easygoing, that you're sharp and everything. But once we listen to your story, and not only your story, but the way you think about different things, just like you share right now, like, oh my God, like, bro, I want to acknowledge, I want to thank you for that, because we need a lot more like you, senor.
We do, man. The world needs more positivity, and I'm not, I ain't no saint. I know soy el diablo también. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my good days and my bad days, but honestly, you got to know when it's time to buckle down, and hey, you got to be there for someone. I always tell people, check in on your happiest friends, because sometimes those are the ones I know, because I was one of those. I was the happiest friends that I was sad. I was depressed, and I just knew how to hide it with laughter, or I just knew how to hide it by making other people smile. But in, deep inside I was hurting. I know how it is, and if you don't snap out of that, you don't know what can happen. And sometimes that can be deadly, if that makes sense. It really can. I mean, I go back to look at Robin Williams. Robin Williams was one of the most funniest, talented comedians, always was happy, took his own life. It's just, you don't know what someone is going through. So, I always tell people, check on your friends. Just check on them. Hey, how you doing? What are you up to? I have my friends that are like, what's up, bro? How you doing? Hey, ¿cómo estás? And, just reach out. Sometimes those little, how you doing? You'd be surprised. They'd be like, damn, you care about me? Yeah, what's up, And those little hellos, or those little, even that like or that respond to that post, it goes a long way, man. Or respond to the, hey, come do my podcast. It goes a long way, because you can be like, stay away, but hey, and sometimes, like I say, I get so many messages. I'm doing or I'll put a heart, just letting people know I'm seeing this. I can't respond right now because I'm doing something, but it doesn't mean I'm blowing you off. And I get a lot of messages, but I do my best to try to respond to all of you guys.
Señor, muchas gracias. I'm going to put you now from La Estrella in the Mountain. That's going to be you and Chicos Tacos third. That's how I feel, man.
Thank you. No, but honestly, man, there's so many great things in El Paso. I mean, from the Star and the Man to the Chicos to the legendary Steve Crosno to, so many awesome musicians. Shouts to all the DJs, all the business owners, and everyone, all the teachers and everyone that, nurses, doctors, first responders. I think all of us as a community, it's a beautiful city. Props to you on the podcast, man. Thanks, and wish you many years of success. And thank you for having me. Hopefully I can come on again, man.
Oh, definitely. Senor, that was half my list, but I was like, you know what? This is so good. I really don't want to go into branding, killing them softly. And that's kind of like the challenge as well when you're doing something like Tusker, like, this is really good question, but this is maybe for a different time, because all the things that you have shared, Senor, I'm sure a lot of people are going to find a lot of value. So that's why I want to thank you again for coming, and not only for that, but for you sharing everything that you shared, Senor.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias again for everyone that listened or viewed the episode. Muchas gracias. I'll see you guys next time. Adios.